Hello, this is Becca from Willow Hill Designs. Welcome. Today I'll be sharing my little catch-up with the K3N Cloth Tales Weekly Stitch, which Catherine is doing for the entire year. So there'll be 52 weeks, and you get a prompt each week, and then you can go ahead and interpret it as you'd like. And I love this project because it's just fun. It's very interesting and very doable. I just find having one little stitch prompt to do each week is just something fun that I look forward to. And also thank you, Catherine, for your mention of me and my hexie bowl that inspired you. This is my little bowl Catherine mentioned in her last video, and I keep, as you can see in mine, my Aurifil threads. I love this little bowl. I put lots of Beatrix Potter, little images, and other little creatures, mice, Jemima Puddle Duck, that I have on my fabrics, and I love it. So thank you, Catherine. So back to this little stitch project here. This is the cover that I'm making for my stitch project, and this is just a piece of an old cutter quilt, and I just embellished it with some doilies with hand stitching on them, some laces, and some muslin that I stamped, some snippets, and just different little things that I've put on here. And I'm doing a blanket stitch around the outside of it, and I just love this. And this was washed, this little piece of quilt, but as you can see, there's some stains on here, and I don't really embrace the stains. I know a lot of people do, and that's wonderful, but I don't. I always wonder, what is that? But I have these little blocks that someone made. Some I always feel very sweet little quilter. I think quilters are all sweet. So I have these little blocks, and I think these fabrics are from the 1930s and maybe 40s. And I love them. This woman did double stitching on these, probably for security, to make sure that it was good and sturdy. And they're all hand pieced. Just such pretty fabrics from that era, and I'd like to make a quilt out of them. They're not all even, and like here, there's a very tiny little square. I had to square them up because they just weren't all the same size. I'd like to put them in a quilt, just so that I think that they should be honored. Again, all hand stitching and double rows of stitching. I just love that. I think that's beautiful. So I was just thinking, look at this one where she combined different fabrics here. I love it. Just reckless abandon, really using whatever she had available to her. Again, here's another one that's very scrappy. I love them. So I was thinking actually of taking maybe 2 of these blocks and just putting them on the inside of this cover of this little booklet cover for the stitch project. And I would put some sashing around them just to give something pretty to look at when you open this little stitch book, but also covering these stains, which, I mean, I'm sure she wouldn't really want these stains showing on her work. So that's what I'm thinking of doing for the cover. I have 2 signatures so far for Catherine's project, and I haven't really been keeping up as I should, just because, again, it's been a very busy summer. So here I'll just share the 3 that I did in an effort to catch up, and this one is week 36, it's needle weaving, and I just wrote something that I felt down here. The threads of our lives are woven into a beautiful tapestry, and by threads I meant experiences that kind of come together and make us what we are, really. I know I'm not the same person that I was when I was younger. Hopefully we get wiser as we get older. But I also mentioned that I used Lori Holt's chunky threads for this weaving, and her threads are a kind of a 2-ply weight, I would say. And I just used, I think it was 5 different colors. I used the pink, the orange, this deep kind of red, a coral, a beige, and then I repeated those colors again. And the deep red is the warp threads for this. You can see them going through, and then the weft is the different colors. And I tried to mirror what was on each side. I kind of almost ran out of room, so I think this is a little thicker. But this was fun. I've always loved weaving, and I just think this was really lots of fun, something doable. And this was stitched in August of 24. This one was the mola, and on this one I just wrote week 34 mola. An interesting process exposing many successive layers of fabric. This little mouse on the front is a tilde fabric line, from a tilde fabric line called Hibernation. And so this little mouse was put on the bottom, and then the peachy pink and the aqua and then the floral. And then I had to kind of figure out how to cut away each of the layers so that I could expose this and kind of center it. So that was a little tricky, but I cut these away, folded these back as one of the ways that Catherine said you could do it, and then I just did an applique stitch along those edges. So these are turned under, and then lastly I just did a running stitch to quilt this little piece. And I just love it. I think it's so cute. And I know that molas are generally from South America, I think possibly Africa, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that this doesn't look like a traditional mola, but these were the fabrics that I had on hand because of a quilt that I was using these fabrics for. So I decided to use them just because they were there. And again, I put my initials here and the date, August of 2024. So that was a fun one. And then lastly, the last one that I did, this one is week 38, Nature's Textures. And I just wrote here a totally fun improvisational exercise. I just loved this. I thought this was so much fun. This piece of fabric, the base, is like a home deck fabric. Kind of almost feels like a linen, kind of a coarsely woven fabric. And I loved that. I thought it was very pretty, and it had this fraying edge, this kind of fringed edge here on the selvage, and I thought I would utilize that as well. And I liked this side of it, the wrong side, that was very muted. So I just took a piece of a doily with lace on the edge, cut a piece of that. This doily had been cut into before, and I put that down, and then another piece of doily of the same type, and put that in this position here. And then I also took a little snippet that I had of a hand-stitched, I think it like a dresser scarf or something. There's a little daisy, I don't know if you can see it on here, that someone hand-stitched. And so I loved that. I put that on for some texture. And this is a piece torn away, this piece here, of this same fabric, and added that for texture. And these two pieces here are also from the base fabric, and I just left these threads just kind of hanging down for some extra texture. And if you can see along this edge, this is a very ravelly fabric, but really gives a nice effect if that's the look that you're going for. And then over here in this corner, this is a little piece of lace. It's a very fine lace, almost as if it was made from very fine threads. I don't know if you can see that. Just very, very pretty. Very delicate little lace. So I thought that would be nice. I just scrunched that up, kind of gathered and scrunched it, and then just tacked that down for some more texture here. And then up here in this corner, I took some of my threads from my orts and some ivories and whites and some darker peach color, salmon-y color, and a lighter salmon color. And then I also took some brown threads and I tacked this down with the ivory, an ivory pearl cotton. And then I also did some stitching with just a single thread of DMC floss in brown, just to give some texture. I don't know if you can see that. And then I just left those threads that I used to tack this down, just left them hanging again for texture. So I love this piece. It makes me think of the sea. It makes me think of the coast, maybe Cape Cod, an area in Cape Cod or Maine. I don't know why. I think it's the colors that just make me think of that. So those are the three pieces that I managed to do to catch up. And so on this signature, I think these signatures hold 12 pieces, if I'm not mistaken. So I have 4 pages left in this signature, and I'll start a new signature after this. And this, because this is getting very chunky here, I may have to add a piece to this just to extend it. So I do have this piece of cutter quilt that I took this this portion for the cover. I cut out of this little cutter quilt. It always breaks your heart, really, when you see these little cutter quilts, but I guess, you know, just looking at it, it's been really loved. It's been washed and I'm sure used and loved a lot. So I can take a little piece of that and extend this if I have to. So that's very nice to have that. And I'll do that as the project goes on. So I'll put that there. And now next, I've had some questions about the stabilizer or fusible that I used on an applique project in my very last video. And I will show what that is and how I've used it. So if you'd like to go on and move on to the next video, that's fine too. I'm just answering a subscriber's question about what was used and how to do it. So I'll just grab that. Actually, I'll grab that product. This was the little stitch project that I had shown in my last video, and I was doing this in between the Roxy's Journal of Stitchery project. I had finished early, and so I decided I wanted to do a little something else to keep busy that I could turn into a quilt. And so this is called Birdie's Year by Bonnie Sullivan, and she has a series of these little projects. I bought this quite a long time ago, and for each month she has a little project, and I think, if I remember, they're like little placemats. They're all individually finished with a backing and a batting and binding. So this was November, and I chose this one because of my fall decorations. I love fall, and I have leaves and sprays and berries all over the house. Maybe I'll include some pictures at the end, but they were, my inspiration for this, choosing this little piece, even though it was November and we're in September. So I was asked how, the way they tell you to do this is to do these raw edge applique, these leaves. And I was thinking if I make this a quilt and it's washed, I didn't want that to fray, especially flannel. This is all flannel, it's not wool. All of these fabrics, the background, everything is flannel. So flannel has a tendency to fray and ravel, and I didn't want that to happen with this. So I decided to do turned edge applique. So I will show you how I did that. And the product that I used is in this tube. I am really out of it. I have it on order for more. But it's a Floriani Stitch and Wash Tearaway Fusible. And I love this for getting great detail in quilts. I've used it for trees and leaves and lots of things. It does a nice job. And this is what it looks like. This is just a little piece of it here. And there's a kind of a papery side, some sort of a fiber. And then on the back, there's the fusible. And you would draw your shape, whatever you want to do. You can draw it on either side. So if you have something that you want facing a certain direction, a lot of times I will draw right on the fusible side, and then when I iron it, I know it's facing the right direction. But you can draw on either side. So you'd draw on there and you would cut it out and then iron it to your fabric. And so I just took a piece of this orange grunge that I have, and then you just cut out and leaving about 1/4 of an inch or so border around your shape. And that's what I did with the flannel leaves there. And if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down to do this. I think it'll be easier sitting. And I use this glue pen. This is a Soline glue pen, and it's washable, which is nice. It washes out. And I don't know if I mentioned or not. Sorry, my brain is not quite here. I don't know if I mentioned that this, about 80% of this will wash out of your project. So it's not as if you're putting something in paper and it's staying there. When you wash it, most of this dissolves away. There's a little bit that's left behind that just kind of stays with the batting or whatever you're working on. But for the most part, this washes away. So let's see, I'll sit down to do this, and I just take my glue pen and I'll just run the glue stick along the seam. Hopefully I'm in shot there. Let me just make sure that, yes, okay. And then just take your little piece, and you can feel for that edge of Floriani to make sure that you're following the shape, and that quickly you have an edge that's finished on there. And you don't have to clip curves that are convex. You only have to clip the concave curves like this, because that fabric has to spread out, where when it's a convex curve, they will just gather. They'll gather in. So I would just take and put a little bit of glue on that. I always cover my glue stick because they dry out so quickly and easily. And again, just take your finger and push it down, and then I take my stiletto and I smooth out, like if there's any little rough edges or little bumps, things poking out, shapes that don't look smooth. I just take my stiletto and I just ease this in like that. And then I would just take my glue stick and add some more to this. And again, kind of folding, feeling for that edge. Kind of give it a little help there, going around. And then I just take my stiletto again, and I just kind of pull it right up tight to that shape, right up next to that shape. And again, going through and just looking for any little points or anything that's sticking up that isn't exactly the way you'd like it. And the good thing is this is forgiving in that you can go back and kind of fix things a bit. So we have these two little edges on here that are sticking out, and generally I just take my scissors and clip those. I would just clip that and that, just clip it, and there you have your shape, and it's all done, and it's very quick. And again, this is left in there, but when you wash your quilt or your piece, whatever you're making, a little placemat or whatever, that most of it will dissolve away. I have also done this where I don't iron the fusible on there very securely, and I use that outline of the shape to get my applique shape, and then I'll just tear out the fusible, the Floriani. I peel these little edges back, I tear it out, and because this is cotton, it has a memory, and this will just go right back into shape, and then again pressing it. And if you'll hold on a second, I'll grab a very intricate shape and show you what you can do with this. It's on my design wall. I should have grabbed it prior, but I forgot. Let's see. Here it is. This is a tree that I have been, oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. This is a tree that I have been making for a quilt for my son and daughter-in-law. The whole quilt is applique. It's a cabin in the woods with mountains, and maybe I'll turn it this way so that you can see the tree. But you can get amazingly detailed little shapes, forms, elements for your whatever you're working on, even if it's a slow stitch piece and you want turned edges, if it's something that you think you might wash. And again, the Floriani is in there, and all these edges are turned, so this can be either machine appliqued or hand appliqued. But so I thought I would just share that because I was asked about this. This is all done, but it has some little piecing around the outside, has some half square triangles. So I'll be doing those, and then I'll just set this aside, and I'll put all 12 together when I finish them all as I have time. So I hope that answers your question, and I'm sorry I don't remember there were a couple, I don't remember the names of those who asked, but again, thank you very much for joining me and sharing. I'll just leave you with that image, sharing with me my progress on K3N Cloth Tales Weekly Stitch. So I'm wishing you many blessings and see you in the next video. Bye for now.